So if you love seeing Reanimator lose horribly, or Stoneblade beating Reanimator, or just Stoneblade winning in the first place, it's going to be the perfect video for you. Maybe not game 1, but you know what? There's still a lot to talk about in game 1, so let's roll that beautiful bean footage. First and foremost, I'm pretty sure they had a Chancellor trigger. I don't know if I saw it there, but in case you missed it, that's live, local, and late breaking. So nothing really happens in this game, but like I talked about, there is one specific spot where it's going to come up in like one turn I want to talk about. So I'm playing Polluted Delta in case I feel like Flooded Strand gives away more information, whereas Polluted Delta, there's so many decks that play it, where if I played that, at least it's going to probably be harder to figure out. Okay, so here's the option at the time where I know a lot of people playing would just concede on the spot. If you've been watching any of my videos, you probably know I hate conceding, I hate mulliganing, especially in a spot like this. Could you imagine if you conceded and then they didn't have a Reanimate, an Entomb, or an Exhume? It's just like you threw the game away. So I feel rolling a dice just so they don't know what deck you're playing is certainly not worth it here. Especially being Stoneblade, I mean, they're pretty much just going to bring in some graveyard hate as they normally do. 1 second. The cat jumped up, had to move her down. Sit down. You can't watch this Reanimator match. It's for humans only, okay? I'm so mean. Anyway, yeah, so I didn't want to concede here. You know, so what, they see my hand. I can, you know, give less information as we go. Obvious choice was going to be swords. That's fine. Sure, do your thing. Yep. 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 Where's, like, crack the fetch land and then bolt them when you need it, right? Sure. This is all the same information that they're getting. The cool thing about this is that I get to see a lot more information about their deck and their playstyle, which is why I also hate conceding. You can learn a lot about how a player plays if they're going all in, not just with Reanimator, but many other decks as well. So they got Ashen Rider, Tidespout, cool. Let's play the land they already know about. Sure, let's see what else they want to do. Sure. Don't worry, this will be the last time you have your fun. I just can't stand this deck, despite my Discord name. Don't mind that. It was the first deck I ever picked up. Anyway, so here I decided to concede, maybe so they won't realize I have Spell Pierce, but it was certainly over. I had seen enough in terms of information. But let's go to game number 2, where it gets a little bit more fun for both people. Alright, so here we are in game number 2, and I really like this hand despite only having one land. There's Brainstorm, which is awesome. There's Ponder, which is pretty good. Of course, we have Surgical, and another blue card to pitch to Force, should we get one. Really like this. Even if they have a Chancellor trigger, I can, pay the 1 and use Surgical. There was no Chancellor trigger, by the way. So here what I'm going to do is pretty much nothing, as I always do, for the most part. Okay, since they did nothing here, I'm going to fetch you Tundra. I'm going to Brainstorm. Now, the reason I want to Brainstorm here is because I want my mana. Like, I want to be able to hit that second land. I don't want to wait an extra turn because even though I get to see one more card, if I don't get that land, that means Spell Snare isn't up, and I'm not really digging that. So normally I do not Brainstorm end of turn. Like, I'll wait second turn until I get a fetch or something like that. But since it's against combo, you need to have a little bit more desperation in the cards you have and what you're looking for. So I have no problem doing that. They fetched for a swamp here and did nothing. I thought they were going to entomb, but that's fine. Even though I didn't hit any lands, I mean, this is probably better. So it's Batterskull on top, Stoneforge on top of that. And here, since I have so much protection, I did decide to Ponder. And none of these I like, so we can shuffle these. And what do we have behind door number 3? Well, it's certainly not going to hurt me. I just can't cast it. Either way, I still like the position I'm in. It's just so much stuff going on in my hand. They have a full grip of cards too, which is nice. So I guess they're taking their sweet time. Okay. Exactly what I wanted to see. Exactly what the doctor ordered. I'm certainly not playing Stoneforge here. Okay, that's not a good idea. I want to keep up Spell Pierce and Snare. Like, while this is still powerful, if they play Reanimate, I can just counter it a different way. But if they mess around, I will find a way to use Spell Pierce. I have Force backup. I can pitch Jace. And, of course, Spell Snare is solid, hitting Exhume and Animate Dead. Okay, so here's where it gets tricky. A lot of different things you could have done here. But what I decided to do is I wanted to get information first, and they only have one creature in the graveyard, so what I decided to do was Surgical first. This is going to give me a ton of information while also nuking that damn card. So they can't reanimate anything unless they get a card in there. So first what I did was check out what they're bringing in. So they got 2 Reverend Silences. Unfortunately for them, that doesn't do anything against the Containment Priest. They're bringing in an Ash Trophy as well, which I have covered if I need to, and everything else is pretty much generic and basic. So they have Assassin's Trophy, Bloodstained Mire, Dark Ritual, Grizzleband, and Reanimate. So there's a lot of things they can do here. At the moment, they can't reanimate anything, but they haven't played a land yet, which means they can Dark Ritual, and then, of course, Faithless Looting, which means that would be 1, and then they would have 1 or 2 mana left, which I can Spell Pierce. So what I decided to do here is actually Force of Will this, because I didn't want them to take one of these 2, and plus this Jace doesn't do anything this game. I bring this in as a last-ditch effort against, like, Iona, where I can bounce a creature. That's the only other way to, like, you know, if they played on white, I'm pretty much screwed. So that's the reasoning for doing that. Now, as pretty much expected, they're going to do that. Cast Looting. This is how they're going to get their Grizzlebrand in the yard. So Grizzlebrand and Reanimate. So that means they still have an Assassin's Trophy in their hand, and apparently they got rid of their Reanimate. They didn't want to lose life. Sneaky, sneaky. Alright, so here we come to a crossroads again. We can Spell Snare this because it obviously hits it perfectly, or we can Spell Pierce it. Now, the fact of the matter is the game is going to be getting later, and Spell Pierce is going to get increasingly worse. Okay, so I chose to Spell Pierce that based upon this scenario here. Plus, they have an Assassin's Trophy. I know that will line up with it if I need to. And obviously, this hits Animate Dead and Exhume, so there's 1 Exhume in there. So there's more of a combination of those cards compared to the Reanimates. And if they play Reanimate, I can just counter it with Force of Will. Well, what do you know? See one, play one. Okay, so seeing I do have a lot of backup, I do have a Force of Will and a Spell Pierce, I'm going to play Stoneforge. Right now they can't cast Assassin's Trophy either, so they would need to have like Discard and Reanimator spell, and you know, chances are against it. Like, I'm going to be taking my chances that they have both of those, you know what I mean? So cool, so you know they have Assassin's Trophy and 1 random, so that's perfectly fine. That was a great draw. Really liked it. Flooding out, which is awesome. See, in this scenario, I feel like you shouldn't play your lands, because if they didn't, like, they had to play that for the Assassin's Trophy, but when you start playing out your lands, your hand becomes so much less threatening. Now I know they just have Assassin's Trophy and just 1 random card they haven't been doing anything with, which pretty much tells me their hand is extremely weak. When you start at least adding cards to your hand, there's more possibilities, there's more options, so I'm not sure why people do that all the time, but then again, like I said, I play Brainstorm, so I like keeping cards in my hand. Fetch in there. Okay, they didn't want an Assassin's Trophy it there. I'm not playing this. I'm going to keep up some counter magic. I'm going to see what they do, so let's move to combat. And they decide to do it during combat. So I have a few options here. Spell Pierce, doesn't do anything. I can force and Spell Pierce, which is horrible. That's just not going to work. I can either Spell Snare this, I can let it go, or I can return it to my hand. So what I decided here to do is actually return this to my hand, because what I can do is I can always just bring it back in next turn. And now they have 1 crappy card. If it was discard, they would have used it like a year ago, unless it's like an unmask. You know, maybe they were playing for that. And even if they unmask me, you know, I don't mind. They can take a Force of Will, or they can take a Batterskull. That's going to be fine. Once again, they play out their land, so now I know they still have crap in their hand. Okay, so I believe, let's see, I could Ponder here. I don't remember if I did. I probably didn't, because I want to be able to bring in Batterskull. Yes. That way, you know, because if I play 1 and then like I go to counter something, I can't bring in Batterskull, so I'm just keeping my mana open. It becomes much more difficult for the combo player to, you know, do their thing when you start playing stuff at instant speed or end of turn, and that's what I usually prefer doing unless I have to, and it's very rare that I'll like tap out, unless I have 1 land or something in the beginning. That doesn't count. All right, so we got a lot of stuff going on here. I might have attacked first, or I might have fired off. If I was going to fire off something, it's probably going to be a Brainstorm, excuse me, a Ponder first. And I did do that. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, so this is perfect. Here, what I did is I'm going to keep Containment Priest in my hand because if they play something, I'm just going to flash that in. So what I should have done was, let's see, on the top would be Plains, on top of that would be Swords, on top of that would be Containment Priest. I actually did it the other way around where it was on top was like exactly like this: Swords, Plains, Containment Priest. I feel that wasn't a good thing to do because the Swords is going to be much more helpful, but either way, even if I needed it, I could Brainstorm to get it, so I guess it didn't make a huge deal. So any type of Reanimate spell, I'm just going to, bring this in. That's going to exile their Grizzleband brand. Looks like they're thinning. Reanimate doesn't play a lot of lands either. So here, I could Spell Snare that, or I can just play Containment Priest. Now, they don't know about Containment Priest, and they actually can't deal with it. As we saw, they have that Reverent Silence card. There's 2 of those, and they have 1 Assassin's Trophy, so pretty much playing this, it gives away information, but they're pretty much going to be screwed for the rest of the game. I don't want to take any chances because Reanimate can win very quickly, so I don't mind showing them that. The only thing that can stop that is their Assassin's Trophy for Game 3, so that was that. Let's play that. So I guess it didn't really matter with the Swords because they couldn't Reanimate. They couldn't use Reanimate, and if they had Exhume or was it Animate Dead, I can counter that. If they had Discard, I could counter that. I could do a ton of things there, so that didn't matter too much. And I think that was where it ended. All right, so a very easy game once you realize what they're doing, what they're up to. That's the trouble with Reanimator. It's like you can get game 1. They can sneak by game 1 usually just because you'll keep like a decent hand that's good against anything but combo, but not in games 2 and 3. Not happening this time. Either way, let's move on to game number 3. All right, so given the fact that we won game 2, once again, we have a 1-lander. This is very similar to the other one, except now, like before I had Flooded Strand, Brainstorm, Ponder, Surgical Extraction. Now I have Containment Priest to go along with it, plus I have a Snapcaster Mage. So getting the 2 lands is going to be huge. I have Brainstorm for protection. Like the only thing I'm going to lose to is pretty much, or lose horribly to, would be like Chancellor Trigger, and then like they just do the thing where I can't even play a land. You know what I mean? So I'm going to take the risk that they don't have like the turn 0, you know what I mean, when I can't do anything. And like Reanimator players usually do, mulliganed pretty well to 5 cards. That's fine by me. That's the thing. That's the problem with playing these decks. They're like glass cannons. They did have the Chancellor Trigger. They're like glass cannons. They're extremely powerful, but the consistency, it's not for me. Anyway, sure. That was the best they could do, huh? All right. I see how it is. No land. Huh. Great draw. I am really happy with this card, by the way. If anyone's been playing this, it comes in against so many combo decks. Also, it comes in a lot of sometimes control decks, plus like those mono prison ones, the chalice decks, decks that do a lot of crazy stuff, on turn 0, 1, or 2. It's nice to have that 4th force of will, so to speak. So anyway, there's a Chancellor Trigger, so I don't want to just fire off a Brainstorm or a Ponder into it. At this point, what I can do is I can pay for Surgical Extraction while doing that and keep a Force of Negation up. So once again, I really like where I am. And they have no mana once again. So here I'm at a crossroads. I need some land. So what I decided to do here was actually crack this fetch, get a Tundra because we're playing against combo. And also very important, I found this out the hard way. You have to make sure you crack your fetch before you go to pay for the Chancellor, whatever it is, because it's like a static ability. I think that's the term, where you can't like play Surgical and then crack your fetch. Like you'll be screwed. I did that once. I was like, no way. I had to learn the hard way. But in case some of you didn't know, I don't know what the terminology is for it, but you got to crack your fetch first, play your card, and then pay it. You can't play Surgical, crack your fetch, because at that point it's too late. So let's pay that. So I'm doing this for a few reasons, because this is going to get rid of the Chancellor Trigger. This is also going to get rid of Grizzlebrand. It's also going to give me information about what they have in their hand, which is one of my favorite parts of Surgical. And plus, I want to, get a land for next turn. If I don't, I can always Ponder. or, you know, whatever it's going to be, and then I have plenty of backup, okay? So that's that. Okay, so, crap. They have crap in their hand. Cabal Therapy, Dark Ritual, Exhume, Thoughtseize. Okay, let's get all their Grizzlebrands. Once again, pretty much they took out the green, you know, destroy all enchantments, because they realized that's good though. Actually brought in a Rest in Peace. I didn't see it this game, but that's funny. If the Reverent Silence, I think it's called, and there's no no Assassin's Trophy. Wow, they were going for gold on this one. They have no way to get rid of the hate. So a land here is going to be extremely valuable. So once again, Cabal Therapy, Dark Ritual, Exhume. If they get a land, they can you know, go for gold. Actually, what I'm going to do is open up my notepad just to help explain the plays I'm going to be making. Cabal Therapy, Dark Rit, Exhume, Thoughtseize. Sure. Thank you for the information. You are an awesome Magic card. Surgical Extraction. Gotta love Phyrexian Man. Alright, so now the Chancellor trigger is gone. I didn't pick up a land, but once again, I got a Force of Will. I'm not complaining. So here what I actually want to do is Ponder. Like, I'm not going to be able to play, you know, unfortunately, these two cards, but I have so much backup that playing a Ponder, if I didn't have a Ponder, I'd still probably play a Brainstorm. And I did hit a land, although it did make a minor mistake that didn't end up biting me in the ass, which is fine. So here what I want to do is pretty much it doesn't matter. It's like Stoneforge, Brainstorm, and then Arid Mesa on top. Now, for some odd reason, I want that Brainstorm. You know, I don't have to crack it at the end of their turn, but let's see what they got going on. So now they have one unknown. Okay, we don't want that Brainstorm, so let's fetch this. And this is where I made the mistake. I accidentally took out my Volcanic Island. I'm supposed to take out one of the third planes because this would have gotten me an island. I already have one planes here, and I don't need any more because I don't think I have Council's Judgment. I have one in there, but it's not going to be, you know, needed. So that was a minor mistake on me, but it didn't, you know, I didn't end up paying for it. Oh, look, even more cards great against Reanimator. All right, so here we're going to do nothing. We have the option of Containment Priest. We have the option of Snapcaster Mage, Surgical Extraction. And once again, they have one unknown. Okay, they still have one unknown. Okay, so here what I actually decided to do, Dark Ritual. Because you know what they're going to do right here. All right, they played a land. And if they had a Lotus Petal, they'd probably play it out as well, you know, last turn, unless they drew it, which I don't think they did. They're going to do Thoughtseize, Exhume. I don't want them doing any of this. So actually what I decided to do was Force of Negation, pitching True-Name here. Because after that, that's going to mean their turn is over. I'm going to be able to play Containment Priest. And then next turn after that, I have Snapcaster Mage into Surgical. And once again, they can't get rid of this. They took out their Assassin's Trophy, so sucks being them. Yeah, I don't need True-Name here. This is just going to do all the work. As expected. Because that allows them to do a lot of crazy things I didn't want them to do. I mean, I could have let them, what's the word? Cast Dark Ritual, then they would have done, you know, maybe Cabal Therapy or Thoughtseize. Then I could have, what's it called? Force of Willed one of those. Could have Force of Willed like Thoughtseize, and then they went for Exhume. Then I could have brought in Containment Priest, but at this point, I liked the way I played it. Don't even give them an option or a chance, and they just conceded right there. I guess the writing was on the wall. It was about to get a hell of a lot worse for them. I mean, what'd they have? Cabal Therapy, Exhume, Thoughtseize. It doesn't matter too much. I would have brought in Snapcaster. I would have used Surgical on that just for hoo-hoos and ha-has, and I would have had creatures dealing 4 damage a turn. And pretty much that was the beginning of the end. They had seen enough. And it's a completely different ball game when you know they're on Reanimator and you know how to play against it. I feel like that deck is pretty easy to play against, although every now and then they will slip in a few wins just because they are a combo deck, and every now and then they do stuff you can't really do much about. Even in Game 2, Game 3, it happens. But overall, this is a really solid matchup, you know, for Stoneblade, especially, I don't know if people have been saying it's bad or it's just, like I said, every now and then Reanimator will win. They are a fast deck, but we have all the tools that are equipped to beat them. And that's pretty much it. Stoneblade against Reanimator. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.